Let me ask you something. What if the biggest threat to your retirement isn't a market crash? Not a recession, not taxes, but something slower, something quieter, something that doesn't even make headlines most days. That's inflation. You feel it in your grocery bill, in your property taxes, in that vacation you wanted to take, but it suddenly feels 20% more expensive. Inflation, it's the silent killer. It doesn't hit like a tsunami, it erodes like a slow leak. And the worst part, most retirees don't see it coming. They're focused on their portfolio, their balances, their number. But they don't realize that number is shrinking in real value every single year. You built a beautiful retirement, but if you don't count for inflation, you're building it on sand. And that's not a solid foundation at all. Let's talk about the 4% rule. You know the one. Withdraw 4% of your nest egg each year and supposedly never run out of money. Sounds smart, doesn't it? It was back in the 1990s. But that rule was built on assumptions that don't exist anymore. It was built on low inflation, predictable markets, and consistent returns. That's not the world we live in now. We live in a world where inflation can spike 7% or more in a single year, where bonds don't protect you, where volatility is the new norm. If you're still following the 4% rule in this economy, it's like driving with a 30-year-old map. You might not crash immediately, but you're not going to end up where you wanted to go either. What you need isn't a new rule. What you need is a strategy, one that adjusts, one that adapts, one that's built for this economy, not the economy your parents retired into. Let's zoom in on what inflation really takes from you. It's not just dollars, it's not just cents. It's freedom. You stop being spontaneous. You second guess generosity. You hold back on the life you worked decades to create. You start by saying maybe later to things you used to say yes to. That trip with your grandkids to the Grand Canyon, maybe next year. Helping your daughter with the down payment on her first home, maybe once the market settles. Giving to your church or your favorite charity. We need to watch the budget right now. This is what inflation really does. It turns freedom into fear, joy into hesitation, confidence into concern. And it doesn't just happen overnight, but over time, it changes who you are. And that's the real danger. Not rising cost, but shrinking confidence. I'm going to tell you a secret. You can't control inflation, but you can control your response to it. At FTA, we call it income engineering. It's not a magic wand. It's not a prediction model. It's a system that aligns your retirement income with the real world, not just some rosy assumptions of the past. Here's how we do it. We optimize your Social Security to grow with inflation. We integrate rising income tools like inflation-adjusted annuities and growth-oriented income portfolios. We build your retirement waterfall of money, each with its own timeline, purpose, some short-term, some long-term, all with inflation in mind. And then we layer tax strategies over everything so your rising income doesn't push you into rising tax brackets. That is how you fight inflation. Not with fear, but with frameworks. Your income is engineered to grow with you. Inflation, it becomes background noise and not a headline in your retirement. Look, you didn't work for 30 or 40 years just to tiptoe through retirement. You worked so you could live fully, generously, boldly. But that only happens with clarity. And clarity starts with a conversation. So here's your next step. Come to our next Retirement 101 class. We'll walk you through exactly how we design income strategies to beat inflation, step by step, plain English, no fluff. Or if you're ready now, request your inflation adaptable income blueprint today. Let's design a retirement plan that honors everything you've built so you never have to ask, Can I afford to keep living the life I love? Because the answer should be yes, always. Let's forget the charts for a second. Let's ignore the headlines. Let's focus on what really matters to you. Not inflation as a number, not CPI indexes, but questions like, can I keep helping my kids if prices go up 5% a year? What happens if my healthcare premiums double in retirement? Will I still feel generous when everything costs more? These are the real questions, and they deserve real solutions. Solutions built around your goals, your values, your vision of retirement, not someone else's. Because guessing isn't a plan, hoping isn't a strategy, and wishing inflation away won't make it stop. At FTA, we design every plan to answer those questions before they become regrets. You get proactive strategies, not reactive panic. You get confidence, not confusion. And most of all, you get to stay you, generous, free, focused. That's what the right plan delivers.